guys, thanks for coming back to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 fall fragrances that I am going to revisit this year, 2023. Now, there's not 5 fall fragrances in this video, but there are 5-ish, so I just thought 5 sounded better for the title of the video. There's a handful, maybe a little bit more, but all of these fragrances I've already smelled before, and some of them I've smelled many years ago for the very first time, and some of these are just kind of recent explorations for me that I've smelled, and for one reason or another, I didn't really care for them upon first impressions. But I'm going to revisit them, see if my mind has changed on any of these. My palate has definitely expanded over the years, and I think that's a good thing. That's a positive thing if you are involved with fragrance at all, to kind of have your palate grow a little bit and at least move on from the things that you might have at once thought you did not care for. If you're doing this kind of stuff long enough, that is eventually at some point gonna happen. That's just kind of the natural process of things. And if you feel like your tastes aren't changing over the years and you're just kind of stuck in the same rut, I'm not going to really suggest you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're just really set in your ways, but if you're smelling things over and over and over again, your nose is just going to eventually get used to maybe something that you didn't care for in the past. And maybe it will end up eventually being a love for you too. I've had that happen for me over the years with a lot of fragrances. I mean, I think I've talked about that plenty on this channel. You can kind of liken that to having your palate change and widen as far as your tastes, your taste buds go over the years. That's just kind of a normal thing. But if that's not the case for you, it's something that I've gone through over the years, but maybe that's not the case for everyone. Everybody's different. And if that has not happened for you over the years, that's just something that I did want to mention at the start of this video, that it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for me to eventually come around on something. I mention that story all the time with Cedrat Boisé from Mancera. That fragrance was one that I really didn't care for in the very beginning. I wore it a few more times and just eventually became a fragrance that came around for me. And now it's a fall fragrance for me, and I consider it a fall fragrance. I know a lot of people like to wear it during the warmer weather, but Cedrat Boisé, that is a fall staple of mine from Mancera that I make sure to wear every year right around this time, as a matter of fact. So we're gonna jump right into this, probably with the most popular, well, I don't know if I'll say the most popular, but one of the most popular coffee fragrances in the community, especially right now. It's one of the newest releases from this brand, this indie brand, and it's this one right here. It is from Kerosene, and it is Followed. This, of course, is the follow-up to the original fragrance of this right here, which was called Follow. So here we have Followed, the sequel to the original Follow. And Followed is one for me, just very much like the original Follow, that I really did love the notes, the note layout, the note breakdown. It was one that I thought, okay, yeah, it's a can't miss. I've smelled the original. I know what the original is. If this is a little bit more gourmand take on the original, yeah, how can you go wrong? But I've had this one for a little bit now. I've worn it a few times. I think time and place has played a big role as far as whether I've really kind of come around on this one or not yet. It's definitely one of those that I feel like is going to be more well received, more well liked based on the temperature, maybe the conditions outside. I've tried to wear this in high heat before, and it really turned me off. I get a lot of chocolate and even caramel in this one. Now, it's perfectly unisex, I would say, maybe a little bit masculine leaning. It does have, if you're thinking that this might be, oh, a coffee fragrance, is this something that is similar to a candle we might know from Bath & Body Works? Nah, not really. I mean, there's a lot of heavy bass notes. The original Follow had a lot of heavy benzoin in it, which I felt like made it really even darker than I was hoping for. Maybe even darker slash masculine, more so than I was hoping for. This one though, very similar to what I would explain as having coffee and breakfast in the morning, something along the lines of maple pancakes. Very sweet and heavy and weighted. The fragrance feels very weighted. I wouldn't be shocked at all if you told me this was an extrait, even though I do know that this is, I'm pretty sure it's an eau de parfum, but it wears like an extrait. A lot of kerosene fragrances do. Yeah, this is just one that I feel like I probably will have to revisit even later in the year. And I hesitate to even spray it on my arm right now. If I sprayed it on my arm, it will really kind of affect the way I feel about some of the other fragrances, just kind of talking about them and smelling them right out of the nozzle. But yeah, Followed, I really want to come around on it. A lot of people love it. It's a very heavy gourmand fragrance. Chocolate, hazelnut even, caramel, maple pancakes. I mean, a good amount of masculine woodsiness in the base. For those gourmand lovers out there, that's kind of just to be expected with a gourmand fragrance nowadays. With personal fragrance, I know we don't add that in our home fragrance lives. At least we don't in most scenarios. But with personal fragrance, yeah, you can kind of just expect that to, you know, give it a base, make the fragrance last longer, you know, have something for a backbone for the fragrance. Next, we're gonna move on from one unisex, maybe masculine leaning fragrance to another unisex from Lattafa. It is Camra. Now, look at that bottle. That looks very substantial, first of all. I mean, it is very heavy. The bottle feels very substantial. There's a good amount of weight to this. The juice color is perfect for a fragrance like this. Now, of course, this gets compared to Kilian's Angel Share, and I do feel like they do share some similarities. This one's probably just more balls to the walls, sweeter, more gourmand, more heady. I even feel like there's a good amount of tonka bean in this, and vanilla too. What's ironic about this one is the fragrance that Angel Share gets compared to the most is Parfums de Marly Wajon. And the fragrance that this right here gets compared to the most is Angel Share. But this right here and Parfums de Marly, really, I don't feel like have much in common at all, really. I mean, they are in the same fragrance genre. You could very much consider them in the same category and lump them into that kind of warm, spicy, sweet genre of fragrances. But I feel like those two specifically really don't have a lot in common as far as the smell of the fragrance, even though their genre is very much the same category. This one though, kind of like Followed. I wore it when it was a little bit warmer outside. I don't think it really played very well with that hotter, muggy kind of humidity in the air. And it's one that I'll probably just have to wear once it gets colder. I am going to start wearing it here now, so I mean, maybe I'll have to wear it when it gets even colder outside. But that one, yeah, still up in the air, even though it seems to be, as far as cheapy fragrances go, more affordable fragrances go, one of the more favorites, I would say, in the community right now. Another one, and this one right here, I've actually kind of come around on it, even though this fragrance in and of itself, I would have to kind of compare it to the rest of the line. Of course, this is going to be a flanker of Le Mal from Jean Paul Gaultier, and Lal Elixir is what this one is. One of the hype beasts, I would say, in the fragrance community right now. Now, this fragrance right here is not one that I've really had to come around on. I feel like I really initially liked it in the beginning. It's just one of those that in the Le Mal line, and the Le Mal flankers throughout the years, I sold every single one that I've ever owned. So I was hesitant to pick this fragrance up. I absolutely love it though. It's a fragrance that performs extremely well. If you're looking for a more mass appealing, sweet, slightly bubblegummy, more sweet in the way that I would think of a more vanilla sweetness, it's got a good bit of a lavender slash maybe even a little bit of a mintiness combined with a very gourmand tonka bean vanilla base to the fragrance, which lasts and lasts and lasts. The younger crowd, probably the more youthful crowd, will appreciate, but someone of my age, I actually appreciate it too. It's a good one. Not one that I really have to come around on right now though. Lal Elixir, though the rest of the Lal line, I really have not gravitated towards over the years. And while we're talking about that one, a fragrance that is very similar in style to Lal Elixir is one that I picked up this summer, I want to say. Haven't really worn it much, even though I have worn it. And it's this one right here from Paco Rabanne. It is 1 Million Royal. This is a fragrance, though, very similar in style to the fragrance I just talked about. A very kind of almost slightly bubblegummy take on that style, that fragrance style. Reminds me a lot of the original 1 Million. It doesn't deviate too much from that fragrance. I've never been a huge fan of the original 1 Million. A lot of people call this a more grown-up take on that. They're very much doing the same thing though, and that's one of the reasons why when I first sprayed this on, when I first started wearing it, it was not one that was an immediate love, but looking forward to maybe changing my opinion on that as the weather gets cooler. I am going to start to wear that one more. It is one of my most requested decanting fragrances. So I know a lot of people are very curious about that one. And that's another one that performance is not lacking whatsoever. 2 or 3 sprays will get you well throughout the day. The next one, this one right here, we're going to go back in time a little bit. And it is from YSL, Opium Pour Homme. This is the Eau de Toilette version. This is a fragrance that came out well over 20 years ago, I want to say, and it is very much of its time. Of course, I've been wearing here recently a decant of it that I made for myself, because this bottle right here is one of the old style splash bottles. So there is no atomizer on this one. And this is very much going to take you back to the 90s. Very old style, very much of its era. Herbal sweetness to this one. I know vanilla and star anise are 2 of the more dominant notes on Fragrantica for this one. I feel like there's a little bit of maybe even a lavender or a sage in this as well. All of the notes have a very kind of dated feel to them. Something that we would wear back in the early 90s, maybe late 80s. Very much a powerhouse fragrance of its time, and one that I did not care for back then. And one that just, I was more of a freshy fan. I probably am still to this day more of a freshy fragrance wearer. So this is one that I still probably to this day find a little bit challenging. And that's not even to mention, it does have a little bit of a 90s feel to it. Little bit of that harsh lavender feel to it, maybe even a harsh herbalness mixed with a very heavy vanilla. Yeah, I can kind of see why I never cared for that one once it first came out. The next one is from Imaginary Authors, and it is called Yesterday Haze. Now, me and Imaginary Authors over the years have never really kind of bonded. Let's just put it that way. Their bottles always feel very cheap. Their lids here, caps, just never that high quality. I mean, they're definitely cutting corners as far as presentation goes. This bottle is just about as basic as you can get. Of course, they have the wraparound label here. They have the notes there on the back. I've never been a huge fan of this house, and I've never really made no bones about it too. I feel like a lot of their fragrances, for one reason or another, just kind of never hit the mark for me. I do love Cape Heartache from this same house. really you can kind of draw the line right there as far as fragrances from this house that I've considered loves for me over the years. Fragrance notes are fig, iris, cream, tonka, tree bark, walnut bitters, and orchard dust. To me, this is a very creamy kind of figgy iris fragrance. Those first three notes, fig, iris, and cream, even tonka to a degree, would be the three fragrance notes that I would really say stand out for me. It kind of has that little bit of a powdery iris. It has a milky fig meets a little bit of a powdery iris. This one has just never moved me, really. I wanted to break into the bottle to kind of use a little bit, get some air in there, some oxygen. It's one that I'll just kind of spray on a tester, spray it on my skin every now and then, just to kind of come back to it and see, am I ready to sell this one off? Or do I want to continue on with it? Yesterday Haze, it's one that I feel like in the community especially, people really do seem to like, and it seems to be one of their more well-liked fragrances. But for me, has just not been one that has taken off, has not moved the needle yet. That's what this video is about. We'll see if my thoughts change here this fall. Definitely a more fall, creamy fall iris fragrance for me. And the last one we're going to talk about in this video, this one is from Givenchy, and it is from their Gentleman line of fragrances. And this one is Society. It's a fragrance that is new for 2023. Now, I really love the vanilla, the sweet vanilla feel to this fragrance. Unlike a lot of the Gentleman line of fragrances, this does not have a dominant iris note, at least for me. I don't really pick up an iris here, which most of the more recent Gentleman fragrances in that line really do kind of have that waxy makeup-y iris. This one though, I would say this leans a little bit more fresh, a little bit more green even, maybe even slightly herbal, with a dominant vanilla. So vanilla is the dominant fragrance note here for me on this one. It's just a different kind of combination, very mass appealing, but you don't always see a very gourmand, very sweet vanilla mixed with the other kind of notes that we've got going on here. And that, probably that reason alone is why I've really kind of struggled with this one here in the beginning. I do feel like it is one for the more youthful crowd, the younger crowd. I feel like probably would gravitate more towards something like this one. If I'm nitpicking it, like I tend to do, I don't think that it's one I really dislike. It's just one that I don't, kind of knowing what the rest of the line has given us in the past and then comparing it to this one, it's just a little bit of a deviation. It goes down a different path. I'm not used to that. So I'm gonna revisit it, see if it's grown on me at all. Maybe once the warmer weather starts to turn into colder weather, that one will start to be a love. But who knows? There you guys have it. Those are the fragrances that I am gonna revisit this fall, heading into the colder months, the winter months, and see if they've grown on me. See if I've changed my mind on any of them. As you guys know, I'm constantly changing my mind on some of this stuff. First impressions are not always the best impressions. Sometimes, for one reason or another, you just kind of let this stuff grow on you. And I can already tell there's already a couple of these that are starting to grow on me a little bit more than they were in the beginning at least, especially Lal Elixir and Camera. Those are the two that I would feel like out of this list, I have already started to kind of gravitate towards liking more, and will probably, most likely, as of this video, end up keeping them. Everything else, though, I would say is definitely up in the air as far as continuing on with them and maybe potentially at some point selling the bottle. Normally, I like to talk about things that I'm loving, things that are moving me, things that inspire me, that maybe inspire videos. These are fragrances that have not really done that yet. So it's a different kind of video for me. Talking about things that honestly I'm just kind of lukewarm on. For that reason alone, this is just a little bit more of a different take, a more unique take for a video for me. So that's all I've got to talk about today. I think that's it anyway. Yeah, that's it. We're going to talk about some more fragrances. My fall 15 list will be coming up here pretty soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.